In the dark there lies a tale, hey, with Joshua Joseph's voice. And beside him Viking storm stays, they speak with no choice. From the deep and blackened waters, where the secrets wail and cry, they pull back forgotten covers, exposing murky lies. What you hear cannot be unseen, a saga from the waves. Conspiracies unravel in the dark, as depths become our graves. They talk of ghostly whispers and ancient treasures call, with theories wrapped in shadows, the waters deep and all. The oceans hide their secrets well, but not from this dark crew. Joshua and Viking storm, they seek, they find what's true. What you hear cannot be unseen, a saga from the waves. Conspiracies unravel in the dark, as depths become our graves. The oceans hide their secrets well, but not from this dark crew. Joshua and Viking storm, they seek, they find what's true. What you hear cannot be unseen, a saga from the waves. Conspiracies unravel in the dark, as depths become our graves. As depths become our graves.
There we go, fans. We are kicking it off right, better than what we did last time, Viking Storm, which was
much better.
Completely my fault on that end. I mean, you have no control over that.
Nope.
But yeah, we're kicking it off right. So fans, if you love that intro, there it is. There it is for you. And welcome to Conspiracies at Seas. It's me, the voice, Joshua Joseph, here with my co-host Viking Storm, and our fact-checking wizard Luna is with us on this episode. You'll be hearing her voice pop in, chime in when she's got a fact to spill, and you'll also see her in the chat. So if you have anything you want to talk about, throw it in the chat, and I am pretty sure Luna will find it, and I know Viking will find it, and we'll talk about it. So tonight we're going to dive into cryptids and Roosevelt's relentless efforts to conserve the national parks. This is a Viking Storm subject at hand. So Viking, that's what we're getting into tonight. We're going to be going from Bigfoot to Mothman, these enigmatic creatures. They have capitalized the human imagination. We've talked about it. I mean, if you're a conspiracy fan, I know you've talked about any range of these guys. So Roosevelt's he was a really big proponent.
Outdoorsman.
Yes, he was
an outdoorsman first. He was very much an outdoorsman because he was in the military and he was a what are they called? I keep thinking cattlemen, but wasn't it the Rough Riders, right?
Yeah, he was a Rough Rider.
Yeah, he was a part of. They were the what's that division called? They all rode on horses all the time, and they had the swords that crossed each other. I can't remember what their division was.
I don't fucking know.
I can't remember what it's called.
The cavalry?
Like I have it in my head.
No.
The cavalry, yes.
Yeah, was it? Yeah.
I kept thinking cattlemen for some reason. I was like, that's not it. But yeah, he was a part of that. And on top of that, he was very much into the outdoors. He did a lot of exploration and survival stuff. And so he was very well known to hunt the whole entire west side of the nation, literally from top to bottom, all the place. He was known to be way up in where Seattle is now in Washington,
Yeah.
and he would go all the way up there, all the way across there, and go down to towards Arizona and New Mexico and hunt down there. And he was all the way across there. These random expeditions he would do, and a lot of it was guides telling him about all these stories about things they've heard, like Wendigos and all that stuff. Especially Bigfoot was very much mentioned. He wrote a 300-page book about his hunting expeditions, and it describes a lot of the stuff he went through, and it's all from his account and his detail. It's not edited. A lot of it's not edited, and it's all from his firsthand accounts of what he did.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Because
a lot of the stuff in there is some weird shit.
yeah, well, back then too, correct me if I'm wrong, but they like when they did those expeditions, they usually had somebody who was they
Guide.
made yeah, the guide, but they also had
Yep.
somebody who was writing down everything
Yep.
and documenting all of what they were doing. So like you were saying, you know, all of this was firsthand accounts of what he was experiencing while he was out there. And which you know, Roosevelt also, after doing all these expeditions and things, he was a big proponent of getting national forests conserved and making sure they were protected by our United States government, which, you know, that also opens up the door of where me and you come in.
Yeah.
And that's Conspiracy Avenue, where it kind of makes you wonder, why were specific parks specifically protected? Like,
Like, especially what the biggest one is, Yellowstone National Park is the largest, right? Besides the
exactly.
California one is the second, I think.
And I believe the Yellowstone was the first one, the first park that they actually were able to get the conservatorship, the
Hmm.
protection of the government.
I'm pretty sure it was. I don't know a lot of that knowledge, but I'm pretty sure that was like the first one that was pushed to be like nationally protected by other things, because there was a lot of things back then. There was poachers galore of
Yeah,
especially bison, a big time, and elk and beavers, wolves were being hunted to extinction. So a lot of that, and people think that wolves went extinct like something 50 years ago. It's actually like what 100 something years ago they're hunted to extinction nearly. I think it was
yeah,
like the 1900s,
yeah,
almost extinct, and then they that act really, because they moved a lot of the wolves to the national parks also, so they were protected. That way they couldn't be hunted down to extinction. And beavers as well. Beavers were almost hunted to extinction.
yeah. They were, they
Hell,
were.
we almost wouldn't have beavers at all today.
That's crazy. Imagine all the jokes
Yeah,
we wouldn't get to hear.
you got a good point on that one, actually.
So
There'd be a lot of awkward. How did I put this beaver joke together?
exactly. So everybody out there, window lickers, my friends, Vikings friends, Luna's friends, if you're out there, get ready to join us on this adventure where we're going to talk a lot about wilderness. We're going to talk a lot about cryptids. We're going to talk about a lot about Roosevelt and his basically his hand in this whole role of the topic we're going to discuss. So Viking Storm, I know you gave out some facts there by about Roosevelt, but I say we jump into it.
Let's
Let's
do it.
jump into it and see where this new topic takes us. So go ahead, Viking Storm, take it away.
So yeah, Roosevelt was, of course, a huge outdoorsman. Even before he was president, I think after president, he was still very much, but he got older with his age and he couldn't do less. It was very obvious. I think for a while he walked with a cane for a second, but he never wanted to be seen with it.
Yeah,
I can't remember the full story there. I know he had some problems as he got older, of course, and he didn't always had the greatest time of getting upright. He was a big man. People got to remember that too. He was a very big man. For me personally, Teddy Roosevelt was my favorite president of all time because he was just such a cool guy and such a badass with everything he did.
yeah, he was.
Like there's so many random events like him during the wars and whatnot. Like he would do this stupid shit. Like he intimidated people in the weirdest way, but he was like the kindest, most respectful guy ever at the same time, apparently, which is pretty cool. Um, but yeah, oh god, where do I start with this? He hunted even he at one time Luna brought up that he had this whole entire contract bounty for a certain cryptid that was he wanted to be found. I can't remember the name of it. That's not it. I had it pulled up. I just don't remember what it is. Do you remember the name of it, Luna? You can either talk or
Okay, I'm chiming in. Can you guys hear me?
yes, we can hear you.
Okay, it's the Snallygaster.
That's what it is. It has a weird name. Yeah, the Snallygaster. He wanted this thing actually found, and because he wanted to put in the Smithsonian actually, and he was offering a reward for anyone that found it. And it's got a weird name, a cool name actually to me. Snallygaster just sounds weird. I've heard it before. There was a bipedal bison creature, I think it was, down in Missouri that it was supposedly lived in these lakes, and it was kind of a minotaur looking thing. And he put it out a bounty for this to be found for the Smithsonian. Like he very much wanted this thing found. He was very adamant. He went down looking for it. He had other explorers looking for it, but nothing was really found about it, I believe. And so at that point, just pretty much became kind of a hoax thing, and people didn't really believe about it.
All right.
There's a lot of random events that he has with outdoorsmen. Like not to cut you off, but I can still go on about this. He had a lot of guides that when they would go on these trips, they would tell them, like, there's one that went up, they went up in Washington, and it was this trail that they went down, and the guide stopped them and said, to this point, he really can't go any further because it's disrespectful to what's in the woods, and they feared it. It was a Native American, I believe, that was his guide. Yeah, Luna says yes.
Interesting.
And they were going through his woods, and they stopped, and he told them, well, Teddy convinced him to take them further, and I think they set up camp in the woods that night, and they heard something, or as they were going through the woods, they heard this guttural like moan that was unexplainable that Teddy wrote about, I think actually in his hunting expeditions book. And he said it was so unnerving, like he couldn't even describe the noise. Like it was just so odd. He's never heard anything like this in his whole entire life of being in the woods and other weird places. And it was just really odd.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, and like I brought this up because this went with what we were talking about, and Yellowstone was one of the first parks to be preserved. So yeah, and I believe, I'm not sure, but this might be the one the Squonk.
Squonk.
No, I don't think this was the one you were talking about then.
No, I don't think it's the
No.
Squonk.
All right. I got a bunch of them pulled up off to the side.
Yeah, if you got whatever, bring it up. Yeah. The Squonk, kind of heard of. When I hear Squonk, I just think of the skunk ape. That's all I can think of, which is technically more down. Well, you lived down there in Mississippi, you said at one time near there.
Yeah.
That's more of that thing. Like, we can talk about that. That just Teddy Roosevelt. Cryptids in general is what I just kind of want to talk about. Not just Teddy specifically on this, but
and I can understand that. Yeah. I mean, this is kind of like the start, of them.
Yeah. It really is like the national like cryptids like being kind of investigated and learned about. Teddy is kind of the pioneer of it in a way.
Yeah.
A little bit in a way. He kind of is the OG of it.
Well, and really he's the guy who brought it to the mainstream for that time, because he was like you said, talking to these different guides and things before he was going into the places, and then they were warning him about different spots that they were about to encounter. So he was bringing that to light because, people were looking forward to his expeditions back then.
And that happened more than once, that he was warned about certain areas before they went in there and certain things. And I guess in his book, he wrote more about some weird things happening, I think. I read parts of this book. I remember that now, like maybe back in high school, I may have found it in like history books or something. I just remember something in United States history that I remember learning parts of his like little expeditions and reading about him and some odd things. But of course, they won't put in the really weird things, of course, because it's history books and whatnot.
Exactly. And here's one that I I'm kind of a little confused about. So a jackalope, you know about them.
Yeah.
So they real? Were they not real? What I mean,
See, I'm still skeptical jackalopes were actually not real, because in certain parts of the West, they actually claim them to be real. Like they've seen them, and like natives have seen them supposedly and whatnot. And I mean, if a Native American, old Native American guy tells me these stories about these weird things, I'm gonna believe him of all people, because they lived out there. They've had these stories passed down to them from generation to generation, and they know a lot more about this stuff than we ever would, because we don't live out there. We're not part of that
yeah.
culture, and we don't get these stories passed down to us.
Yeah, and that's very true. And I love how you brought up that point, because I mean, it kind of goes into our United States government. Why is our agriculture division over in Washington, D.C.? Why is it not in Iowa or
And that's just
Nebraska?
weird.
You know,
Yeah,
so
Nebraska, Wisconsin. I mean, anywhere that's Midwest,
yeah, exactly. You would want
like from
that's
my state down to Iowa. I mean, Oklahoma areas, whatnot.
yeah,
That I'd say maybe even Texas. Like that makes more sense to me for those agriculture divisions to be out here, because I mean, Wisconsin for us is the number one. We are the beer state, of course. We're also the cheese state. We're also one of the highest proprietors of, and at times have been the top. I'm gonna say contributor. That's not the word. Of cranberries and potatoes. See, everything since Idaho, that's not true. Idaho actually has a lot of their potatoes shipped into their companies, and then they make potatoes and sell them and whatnot. A lot of it
true.
gets trucked into Idaho. At one time, we were actually one of the top producers for potatoes in the U.S. more than once,
That's
because a
true.
lot of our farms are potato farms out here. And cranberry marshes, we have a lot of them. I mean, I don't think you can go out here and backwoods or back roads of Wisconsin on our back road highways. You don't see a cranberry marsh probably every other town, or in a couple in a town. We see quite a few of them here where we're traveling. They're all over the place. You see cranberry jobs everywhere. Ocean spray is very big here. There's one down by like an hour away, and there's an ocean spray factory that's one of the biggest ones that I know of, and they're like a main like job source in Wisconsin up here.
Hmm.
Like cranberries galore. But um yeah, no, from us to like Texas, like and there's you got Minnesota, Iowa, of course, also, and those are the main like agricultural areas for farming. Other than, of course, California has a lot of like their opposite of their big towns. They have a lot of farming also. So that makes more sense for it to be somewhere there, not Washington. That's just weird.
Exactly. And like you were saying though, with the Native Americans, if you hear somebody speaking a story that's been passed through generations of their people, you're more inclined to be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
That
I
makes way
hear
more
that.
sense.
And this is where we get into the jackalope. It's not a mysterious, like there was no this thing wasn't dangerous. It wasn't like
No.
but there are a lot of people who have claimed to seen it, which is it's a part jackrabbit, part antelope. And I don't know
I
for
mean,
you, Viking, but for me, I remember it from specifically America's Funniest Home Videos, when they would have the jackalope run around and chase people. It was humorous.
I kind of remember this. Maybe there's been a lot of reiterations of AVP. So
Yes, yes. Well, this is the original with Bob
yeah,
Saget, yeah, and all that. But yeah, I
but
mean, I could believe in this. I've seen
see,
places where
I
they
can
have
say that
heads of
because
this.
look at deer specifically. Okay, I'm gonna say this. There's vampire deer, and people those aren't think those aren't a real thing. There is out in Asia. There's vampire deer. They're called Siberian, not husk deer. I think they're called. I think they are. Um, but they're all the way from all across the Asian, the European nations of Asia, and to Russia. There is, so specifically there, like they develop these tusks, and they have like vampire fangs. It's a real thing. They're a small deer, but it's said that they developed them so they could eat through the snow to get to the grass and whatnot underneath all the snow in Siberia.
That makes
and
sense.
in these like Antarctic conditions, and there's odd animals like that, and deer specifically. Look at non-typicals. There's non-typicals happen every day. There's unicorn deers that people think don't exist, where they'll have like one antler randomly growing upwards out of
Yeah.
their face. A lot of time they grow weird and they actually end up dying because of it, because it grows into them sometimes. There's weird things that happen like that, and
Yeah.
I'm
There is.
not going to say that a rabbit couldn't develop some weird random mutation like that. I mean, look at out in the areas they are is where they did nuclear weapons testing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and look at all the effects. Like, people are known to have radiation and these weird backwards, the hills have eyes kind of situations, and that's the best reference to it that people would
Oh, I know, but
understand.
it's just such a fucked up reference if
Oh,
you know the
I
movie.
know. But
Well,
I mean, there's all those areas out there that have these weird mutations, and
yeah, and
animals had weird mutations too. There was a lot more two-headed snakes appeared randomly. Some cows had more than one limb.
yeah,
Cows not having two heads, or chickens or sheep wasn't uncommon. It
yeah.
was very well seen out there.
We've seen the pictures of them, and what
Yeah.
I found weird about this whole thing, though, is that this is one cryptid that you can actually get a hunting license for, and
Yes.
June 31st is the official legal day that you can capture a jackalope. So if you are interested in it and you want to go find this, they're saying the Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming is where a lot of the people say they spot this thing. So that would
And
be
again,
where to
maybe
go.
that area was affected by radiation and whatnot, and there might be, for all you knew, there could be some pool in a cave of radioactive water that they go and drink from or something, and just, who knows? It could be something in the dirt, or that they eat certain plants and they have a development when they possibly, have offspring, and some of them have antlers randomly.
Yeah, I
You
like
don't
that.
know.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not
I
going to say
don't.
it's not a possibility.
And that's what I like about this. It's all a possibility. And
It is.
we have Luna chiming in. She says, I have a small snippet from the book about how that's Bauman story that
Bowman, I think.
The Bowman story that Teddy wrote about. Uh, Teton,
Grand Teton.
Teton, the Grand
Teton.
Teton.
Sounds like tea time.
All right. Well, it definitely does. I almost read it as Teton.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Luna, anytime you need to,
If you want to read the snippet, you totally can.
you just pop in and let us know.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna kind of, this is from his book. I didn't read it specifically, but there is a snippet that I'm gonna kind of dub because it's a lot. Essentially, what Teddy Roosevelt was talking about was he had heard the story from Bauman. He described this man as a mountaineer that lived in the frontier all his life. And the small snippet would be Bauman had a companion with him. And prior to setting up one of their campsites before dark, which they called a lean-to, they had saw some really weird tracks, and they kind of examined them but kind of pushed it away. Now here's the actual snippet. At midnight, Bauman was awakened by some noise and sat up in his blankets. As he did, so his nostrils were struck by a strong wild beast odor, not wildebeest, and he caught the loom of a great body in the darkness at the mouth of the lean-to. Grasping his rifle, he fired the vague, threatening shadow, but must have missed, for immediately afterwards he heard the smashing of the underwood as the thing, whatever it was, rushed off into the impenetrable blackness of the forest and the night. They tried to sleep. They really couldn't. They rekindled the fire. On nearing, oh, sorry about that. In the morning, they went out to get the traps that they had set overnight. Coming back, their whole camp was pretty much tossed. Their shanty was destroyed, camp and bedding. There was even more tracks. So they were pretty freaked out. So it gives It's kind of dubbed from what I am reading through to kind of make it short, but it's pretty much what this Bauman guy had told Teddy Roosevelt, which then Teddy put it in his book. And pretty much that is the most popular part of it, considering that he doesn't talk about it himself. So Teddy didn't actually see, or there is no actual record of it, of him himself actually seeing a Sasquatch or Bigfoot. But there's a little bit of lore in that. That is pretty much all I got.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that, Luna. That's kind of cool, though. I mean, just even the small snippet that she pulled out of that, you could tell was very detailed. And, you know, I don't know, man. Bigfoot, he's definitely one of them that you kind of, I just fucking believe that there's
Oh, I do.
there's such a
Because and there's
possibility.
and see, I treat it like with Bigfoot, I treat it like the species of black bear basically. Because look at black bear, there's like 19 different iterations of it,
True.
and I treat it like that because there's been so many different forms of him found or like
Very true.
purported. I mean, from literally from the corner of Washington, because it goes all the way up to is that not British Columbia? Is it British Columbia I'm thinking of? Whatever it is up there, but into Canada and then all the way down to literally Florida, there's been sightings of
Yeah.
a Bigfoot creature, literally that far.
They were
I
saying
mean, it's same from New York to California. There's literally crossed that way of the nation as well.
yeah, and where you were saying the Pacific Northwest and all the way down to the Florida Gulf Coast, it's they've seen
yeah.
this. There's
Yep.
been spots of it. Yosemite State or National Park. That's a big spot that people say they've seen Bigfoot, a Sasquatch. This is a new one.
I mean,
Skunk.
even where you are too,
Yeah.
even where you are in Indiana, like Ohio area, there's a lot of sightings of Bigfoot in Ohio, actually.
Well,
A
you know what?
lot of them.
You know what's really fucking nuts, man? In my
Mm.
area specifically, and I don't know, Luna, you might want to look this one up, but they claim that coyotes don't exist around here.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, it's like a thing. Like up in Michigan, they claim that they don't exist. But
Michigan makes sense, actually. We have coyotes here, plenty of them, here in Wisconsin. But Michigan, I could actually, because of where it is on the map and the secludedness of the state being surrounded by water, and like the fact that I think of Michigan for some reason, I just think of it having a lot of cities and not very rural.
well,
I don't know. I've never really been to Michigan other than through the UP and going into it, because you can from northern Wisconsin to not just a big bridge, but there's another way to wrap around a body of land to get into it, where I've stayed that way. But other than that, I really don't know. Michigan to me is kind of like a twin Wisconsin, but less farming, I think.
see, like when you cross over the border from Indiana into Michigan, you hit basically the same terrain. It's country, it's all that. And I got a friend who lives in more of like a town. It's not city, but it's a town. There's a couple different businesses and things like that there. There's a couple restaurants, but he's got videos of coyotes out in his backyard, and he's about a couple towns away from me from the border into Michigan. And we see them, I see them all the time. So I've never
Yeah.
understood why people around these areas say that we don't see them.
I would say wolves would be more scarce out there, is what I would say. Is I don't really see you guys have many wolves, but
Yeah. I see now. I
definitely
could see
coyotes.
Michigan having wolves.
Michigan has wolves, yes, they
Yeah,
do.
I mean, just look at the terrain up there. It's like,
Yeah, the terrain makes sense, and we have wolves here. I don't think we have a hunting for wolves in Wisconsin. I'm pretty sure we don't.
yeah, that's
I mean, we have a bear hunting up here. We actually do. We have black bear hunting in Wisconsin. That's a thing.
that's crazy to me. Black.
Yeah, I mean, here's a different one. There's actually each hunting season they give out 5 tags for elk. I think 2 or 3 of them actually go to the reservations to the natives.
Mm-hmm.
They actually get there's 3 bull elk tags that get handed out to them, and 2 others you actually win by raffling. It's not just buy it at the highest bidder. It's a raffle that's done by the NRA, or not the NRA, the DNR, I think.
Yeah.
I can't remember which organization does it, but they do a raffling here for bull elks up in northern Wisconsin for you to hunt, because we actually breed them here. There's actually from my hometown, just outside of it, and not just me, but Grizz, Ice, Kobe, all of them can literally say the same thing, that they've seen this. It's just outside of our hometown. They have a place that keeps elk, like for breeding and stuff. Like they breed them out there.
That's
And we have
great.
more than one deer farm that does elk in Wisconsin.
I love that. I love that. That's awesome. I would love to be able to hunt elk. I think that would be
Oh,
fun.
that'd be
They're such
you're
a
better off going out west, but yeah, I always
Yeah.
thought that'd be really cool to hunt
Yeah.
an elk. Like I always thought about that.
But here's the thing that ties a lot of these that I'm bringing up, and it brings into what we were talking about at the beginning. These national parks, Yosemite is where a lot of people see Bigfoot. Some
Mhm.
believe Bigfoot is the missing link in the human evolution, dating back to pre-Neanderthal times. In fact, you can find evidence of its existence in 1,000-year-old paleographs. I think that's how you say
Paleograph?
that. Created by indigenous Americans. So here's the thing, though. First, I've never heard Bigfoot called a skunk ape. I like it. And
That's
I
a
think,
different version of it down in the south, actually. It's supposedly the skunk ape is supposed to live in the swamps and such. I've heard of some details because that they've heard of, like, forgive me if it's the wrong one, crocodile or alligators. I can't remember. I think it's alligators that we have down south. I think it
uh,
is.
I think
Whichever one of them that'll kill you in the water. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
They found them torn up into pieces sometimes, or tails ripped off, jaws ripped open. That there's been more than one account of that, of like pictures or photos, or but detailed, like that they've found them just ripped apart. Basically, it doesn't make sense, because the only other creature that would be like that predatorial down there, and yes, they do exist down the south. You can't tell me there's been plenty of pictures and video of it. Is the panthers that live down there? People want to say they don't when they fucking do.
Yeah.
I very much believe that they do. That there's panthers down there, and people are like, what do you mean? No, there's black panthers that live down in like Louisiana, Mississippi. Some have been found in Florida. They live in the swamps and whatnot. They really do. And
Yeah.
people were trying to say that maybe it's them doing it. That wouldn't make any sense. They don't have the force to rip open a crocodile or alligator. I just don't see that. It would have to be something of a primate, and that's where the skunk ape comes in. Is there's been plenty of tales of people hunting down there in the backwoods, and they have just this large figure step out from behind a tree and just keep walking by them like 150 yards away. I've heard some weird ass shit of guys sitting up in a tree stand and they see a deer walk by, and then they wait, and then it seems that these stories always would happen and conclude around dusk. And it seems to be that that's because that's the time that Bigfoot or any other bipedal creature like him would actually be coming out at that time, because it makes sense actually that they would come out at that time. What'd she say? Bigfoot is also
Women.
described as being larger than the skunk ape. Bigfoot is usually 6 to 15 feet tall, whereas skunk ape is 5 to 7 feet. Yeah, skunk apes were believed to be. I've heard of tales of that. Maybe it's a gorilla, a gorilla or orangutan that escaped from the zoo and they just live in the woods, and like it's a group of them and they breed and whatnot. And I've heard of that plenty of times, a lot of times, including that stupid ass. And I'm sorry, but that hunting Bigfoot show they did on Discovery Channel or whatever, with those group of those Discovery Bigfoot, I think it was called. I hated that show. I thought it was stupid. Every episode was, that's a Bigfoot. That's a Bigfoot. Any noise that I heard in the woods was, that's a Bigfoot. I was like, you guys look like total fucking idiots. I hated that show, The Burning Passion.
Well, I mean, if you want the true Bigfoot insider on a show, you got to watch Trailer Park Boys and watch Bigfoot stealing Bubbles' fucking maple syrup out of the tap. Yeah, there's the thing with Bigfoot is I can believe it, and I think there's the huge possibility of them being out there, because you hear about them, you hear about all these things like a Sasquatch. I've heard about those in different places, Yetis, things like that. Um, which to me, honestly, Bigfoot is the most um, believable cryptid I've ever seen, read about. So I believe in Bigfoot. What about you? You a
Oh,
Bigfoot
I very
believer
much
like me?
do.
Yeah.
Bigfoot is the one that I absolutely do believe in. I really do. I mean, and then you have like Bigfoot. Then I don't know about your state, but we have our own here as well. Is ours is the Dog Man, and then the Hodag is also very well known.
Dog
You know,
man.
but the Dog Man is very well known about. It's been called a werewolf. But it's more specifically referred to as the Dog Man.
Yeah.
There's a whole book about it.
Dude, here's something funny though. With the dog man specifically, I had a boss that I worked with for 5 years. I absolutely, this dude was my favorite boss I've ever worked for. But he like fully he, he fully turned my eyes into like believing in like massive conspiracies, believing in cryptids, things like that. And he used to tell me, like, if I fucked up an order or something, or like forgot to clock in, he'd be like, the dog man's going to call you tonight and he's going to tell you all the things that you did wrong. And it was just, so when I hear anybody say dog man, I think of my old boss and just think
Oh
of the things.
God, that's
He used to
great.
tell me the predator was going to call me too and tell me
What the
this.
fuck?
So yeah.
That's
Yeah.
just weird. Yeah, no. The Dog Man has been a thing, and it's a Wisconsin lore thing. Has been for years. It's kind of became famous in Wisconsin. Like it made us famous for a minute. Back in the early 2000 to 90s, I think the accounts started in the late 90s. I think the earliest like sighting was like 1987, 88, something specifically.
Yeah.
I can't remember when, but I've always heard about this. Like that's our big like our cryptid is like that. And then but more specifically our unique cryptid to Wisconsin is the Hodag, which is up in I can't remember the frickin' town. Rhinelander, yes, Rhinelander, Wisconsin. And it's Hodag. We even have a Hodag event. It's like their like county fair. It's a big thing.
No
Every
shit.
year Neil McCoy comes to it. Literally the country singer Neil McCoy has been coming to it for like I think like 17 years or something, for like a
What
long ass time he's been
is he, the
coming to it.
Jose Canseco of
He
Bigfoot?
is like
Like,
the national like spokesman for and like our what's the word called? I guess kind of ringleader about it.
well, like Jose Canseco is like the ringleader for
Yeah.
Bigfoot out in Nevada. You can actually
Yeah.
pay to go and hunt Bigfoot with Jose for a
But
weekend.
I'm not sure if Neil McCoy himself like believes in it, but
He
he
might.
he might. But he comes around every year for Hodag and like it's just it went from being like their like cryptid creature to being this more of a this is kind of like our national event every year. It's our county fair thing, and like that's what they do every year. Is they have a big concert there.
Okay. Well, I
There's
mean,
even a
that's
life
cool.
size like I'm sorry, I just remembered this.
Oh,
There's
you
a
go ahead.
big like statue like creature thing they have there at the I think it's the high school because they're literally their mascot's the Hodag, so they're known as the Hodags there. And I can't remember if it's at the high school or if it's in the town. They
What is
have
this,
a
a
whole
Teen
entire
Wolf
like
High School?
creature. Yeah, pretty much. Like they have a statue there though. That's the Hodag. It's this big green thing.
That's insane, but I like it.
Yeah,
I would
HODA is how you spell it.
love to be a part of that high school. I mean, just for that would be fun to me. All right, so we're gonna jump into another one, which is a little more in city. It's in
The
a
city.
city. Have you heard of the Mothman?
Yes, I knew we'd get to the Mothman. Luda's excited about this.
Yes, I
The
love
Mothman,
the
of course, is
Mothman
very well
discussion.
known. I mean, it's even in Fallout.
Yes. Mothman, of all our cryptids in our national parks, Mothman might be the most terrifying. It stands as a human with massive insect-like wings, the face of a moth, and the glowing red eyes. See right there, that if you're into any type of conspiracy, that just little opening paragraph should get you fully to dive into Mothman. And I'm really excited. Luna's excited for this one. But Viking, let me ask you first, and then we'll get Luna's response to it. Do you recall the first time you heard about Mothman?
Oh,
Or like, was it when you did eventually hear about him and look into him? Was it kind of one that kind of made you go, there might be some fucking truth to this?
because of the such weird events that come with Mothman, it's such a I'll say it's the most it's a famous cryptid, but when you hear about the stories, they're so scattered and just randomly like it feels like it's randomly put together a lot of times. And it's just like
Yeah.
such it's weird because like every story I've ever read or heard about Mothman is it just feels like a weird detailed events that were like kind of pieced together and like people don't remember everything. And that made me think, like, is there a thing when you're supposed to see the Mothman, like you don't remember everything or something, or like made to forget? Because all these events, people like put them together like they don't know what they're talking about for a second. They remember everything, but it's like they all had the Alzheimer's or dementia for a second. They're like, man, I remember the events, but I don't remember how it all happened at first. And they like all these weird details are like put together very slowly, and like that's how they figure it out.
Well, I can kind of see where you're coming from with that, because one of the most famous sightings of him was the Point Pleasant Silver
Yep.
Bridge collapse, and it was said that Mothman was to play some type of role in that collapse.
Yeah, I've heard of
And I
that one.
believe it was like in the evening, and there was a something happening in the town or where this area was taking place, and there was some vivations of the night, some liquor was flowing. So I could see where a lot of that comes into play, because there's also the I forget the woman's name, but she said that there was when she seen the Mothman, she was standing doing dishes and staring out her window, and she just seen these glowing eyes, and then he took off and a car wreck happened. But
Yeah, I think I heard about that one somewhere because I think that's in some other book or an article that I read at one time. And I remember something about somebody doing dishes or at the window, and she looked out, seeing the glowing red eyes, and that car crash happened like a little bit later.
yeah,
And so, as I get what you're getting into, is that Mothman has been linked to random events that are horrific and that happen here and there, and
yeah,
that's been said in that area that if it happened, Mothman was probably nearby. And
yeah,
that they randomly have had these like weird places that look like Mothman would have been or like sat on a tree or something. It's partially broken, and like they did like investigations for a while about this, and they were looking into the areas of him randomly being there possibly, and like they looked at like where he could have been, like if this happened, like where would he have been from? And people have more than once reported seeing something fly off large and black with glowing red eyes time to time that was near these catastrophic events that happened, like something
yeah.
horrible, horrific. So
Well, I
yeah, you're
mean,
not I know where you're going with that.
even if you look into it, the lore of Mothman has created some, like Aqua Teen Hunger Force had a Mothman
Yep.
fucking character.
They did.
It's just crazy the amount of attention that this cryptid has gotten over the years.
Specifically in stuff like that, like I think South Park did a thing on it too as well, and so did Family Guy do an episode where they fought Mothman or something? I thought they did some weird side quest part. They probably did. I just don't remember it. There's some
To me,
running
that
joke
would,
about it.
if Family Guy did it, it was probably like one of those little 10-second clips
Yep.
where Peter runs into him doing something. So
Yep.
yeah, you're probably right on that.
But what you're saying though, like time to time, he did pop up in pop culture here and there, and like there he is. Like this is a thing. It's because it was an influence or something like that. I
Yeah,
don't
and
know, but see, when I think of Mothman, every time I think of Mothman, I always think of the New Jersey Devil. Is like because it's not that far fetched from Mothman. Like I don't know why I always associate those two together. For a while, I got them confused for a minute.
a lot of people did.
Yeah. And I
There's a
think
lot of
that
stories
the
that go.
event of New Jersey Devil is so fucked up. Like that's a fucked up story of how he was supposed to be like came into this world from that woman being cursed and giving birth to children and supposedly flew out of her nether regions and there was Mothman or not Mothman, but New Jersey Devil became a thing and it haunted the areas and whatnot and all that stuff.
Yeah,
I think that's a really fucked up tale actually.
New Jersey is just a haunted place in itself. Uh, Luna has she has a small story about a documentary she watched. Luna, if you're ready for that, you can go ahead and chime in at any moment.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was watching, I was on a site that I was working, and I was super bored. And I went on, you know how you can find like free videos of stuff on like kind of like those websites that you can, I don't know, like free movies and things like that. So I
Yeah,
came across, I don't, okay, I swear to God, I wanted to watch it again, but I only watched it one time. It was a bunch of episodes where it looked like it was supposed to be a documentary, but clearly it was a film. But it was pretty creepy and it got me thinking. So, um, pretty much this group of people, they were looking into essentially Mothman, but then they also related it to like the government conspiracies, where they did go to, I believe it was somewhere around Point Pleasant. Essentially, they did a bunch of research. They tried to contact people from that area. They went and interviewed a whole bunch of people, but then they suddenly found themselves in some really weird conspiracy thing. It was honestly the creepiest shit I've probably ever seen.
really.
Yeah, to this day, I don't know what the name of it was. I can kind of remember a little bit. And it's if I could ever find it, I'll just send it to you because it was really interesting, even though it was clearly a film mock documentary, but it was really, really cool. And it kind of creeped me out. And of course, it was at night when I was working this site. It was a little creepy. But one of the things that I also thought about too about Mothman, doesn't it a little bit sound like Jeepers Creepers? If you think about it a little bit, you know, big scary creature and all this other stuff. That's just kind of my snippet of that. But um, yeah, I think Viking has something to say, so I'll let him take it over.
All right.
So actually, Jeepers Creepers is based off of of a guy who killed his wife. I actually know the story of Jeepers Creepers. The original inspiration for that was actually in a town in Wisconsin, I think, or Ohio. I can't remember what the video was, but this guy that had this white van, it was by a church and a house next to it and a hole in the ground, and that's where he buried this dead body. And like that was the inspiration for Jeepers Creepers.
Really?
Yep, I just found out about that like a year ago. It was this guy that did this whole video on this thing and found this out that it's this guy that killed this woman. I can't remember if his wife. I'm trying to remember if it's his wife or not. Because I think his wife, I'm trying to remember who he killed, but it was someone that drove by and seen this, and then that's how they found out this guy did it. Because they opened the door to his van, and I think he beat somebody down with like a metal pipe or something right there, like at the door of his van, like the entrance of it, and the passenger side. And there's just blood splattered across the dash of the door and all this, and he cleaned it all up and like, but there were still remnants of blood splattered, and like that's how he ended up getting caught. And that's
That's
actually the original inspiration for Jeepers Creepers that I've heard of.
that's pretty insane.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was a real person, but it was, and then of course it was adapted into the Jeepers Creepers now, which I actually found out recently. There's comic books about Jeepers Creepers, and I want to read them. I really want to find them and read them because there's a whole like lore thing to it about the Jeepers Creepers like movies and like the creature. So yeah.
Uh, yeah, it's just so bizarre that I mean, even the going into Jeepers Creepers with um the connection that they had with one of the, I believe, the actors or something. And I mean, Jeepers Creepers has always freaked me out, but I can kind of see
I
where
love
Luna's,
the movie.
I can see where she's coming from though with the
Mm-hmm.
connection to the Mothman, just because of the design of the overall Jeepers Creepers and things like that. And but yeah, that oof, that's definitely a film that's out there.
The first two, I'm gonna say this: if people ever watch them, watch the first two. Don't watch any afterwards. They all suck.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
first one's great and horrifying. It actually scared you from it. The second one, I'm not gonna lie, I find hilarious, especially the bus scenes part. I find the whole movie hilarious, the way he tortures them, and just the whole second movie, the way he like antagonizes the people. I fucking love it. There's a comedic thing to it, and like at times, what's his name? Art the Clown, that's in Terrifier.
Yeah.
Like he kind of reminds me of him at times. A little bit of the odd things he would do to them in the second movie. I love that movie for that because I thought it was hilarious. I
Yeah,
really always think the second was just funny.
that's my type of favorites in horror movies is the
Oh yeah,
just the weirdness of the overall killer or character of
probably why The Thing is my favorite. Honestly, that's
the
probably
what?
why. The Thing is my favorite. That's my favorite horror movie of all time. I've read the original book actually it's based on because The Thing is actually a remake of an original movie because there was the book and they made like an old classic. I think it was when color just became a thing, like black and white, like movie. And then John Carpenter heard about the story of the book. He read the book and loved it. He made the movie The Thing.
Yeah,
So,
John
yeah, no,
Carpenter,
I get that.
genius.
Oh, fucking genius. He's awesome. Did you know he likes to play I think it's him. I think it's him. That he is it John Carpenter that likes to play Destiny?
I did not know that.
I think it is, yeah. So yeah, there's an ongoing joke that he just sits in a cave playing as a warlock on Destiny. Like
I
he
would
loved
too.
Destiny, I guess specifically.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right, so here's one that I've never really heard about, but once I was researching some of these, it popped up in a pretty good top 7 list. This is the creature from the deep, and we're gonna get into this one. So this one is Oregon's Crater Lake National Park may harbor a cryptid rarely seen by keen-eyed outdoor enthusiasts. Indigenous Klamath people? Think that's how
Klamath?
you Klamath?
Klamath, maybe?
Klamath? Peoples observed sightings as much as 8,000 years ago. However, park visitors have also reported more recent encounters. So this is a dragon-like and serpent.
Serpentine.
Man,
Like a
I'm
serpent.
I'm just picturing a giant snake with a dragon head, and I'm not liking that.
Like the Chinese ones.
Yeah, and if people are seeing this,
Like
this
Mushu. Just got
yeah,
Mushu out there in
I don't want
the
it.
desert, bro. All I can think of
I
the
don't want
Mulan
it.
is Mushu.
I don't want it, man. It says this beast can move on both land and water. Those
See,
who
I
have
think I know what this is from though, because if you think about snakes can actually, if you know this, snakes have been recorded to have legs actually. And
now
like feet, like kind of like they're small, like kind of like an alligators or crocodiles, like small little feet like that. They've been or like a gecko, like they've been found to have feet before. So maybe it's just I'm gonna spitball here. Maybe it's just a big ass snake with arms and legs that people see. I don't know.
I don't know. But they say that the people who have seen it from the deep say it is especially powerful when maneuvering in the lake. That makes me think of a water moccasin now.
Yeah, but not only water moccasins. Yeah, that's out in Oregon though. Are water moccasins a thing up there?
They're a thing here.
Because
I know
there's
that.
specifically a water moccasin snake, and then there's other kinds of snakes. And water moccasins are usually found down south.
Well,
Usually, I mean, even a grass snake can actually swim in water. So
that's true. That's true. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe my
but with
backwoods
Oregon, all I
hillbilly
can think
family was
like
wrong.
primarily desert like snakes.
I don't fucking like snakes, period. I'm good with not them not even being a thing. I mean, that's just my thing. But it says when you consider Crater Lake the deepest of its kind in the U.S., it's easily to imagine this critter lurking beneath the surface. munching on rainbow trout and the
What does
kokanee
that say?
salmon.
Kokani?
Kokanee? I think that's
Kokani,
how.
I'm gonna
It's
say. It's
close.
probably
It's
native.
close to that, I would say. Other unusual occurrences in the park include frequent UFO sightings, unusual disappearances, and reports of paranormal activity. Well, this would be a
See, I've heard of those, but I haven't heard of I don't think I've heard of the creature from the deep, this dragon-like thing. I've heard of the UFO sightings from Crater Lake and disappearances and paranormal activity. Like I think there was some base nearby, some military base reported like a UFO sighting out there or something at one time, something like that. I've heard of those from Crater Lake. I've heard of Crater Lake having these weird things going on out there before, but
really.
the the dragon like thing, I don't recall ever hearing about this.
Yeah, I've never heard of this, so that's why I kind of wanted to talk about it, because I thought maybe, because you seem to know a little more of the cryptid world than me, and I thought maybe you might know about this. But yeah,
No,
it's very
one
interesting
I
though
don't think.
to think about though. Like,
Luna says it sounds like Nessie a bit, which it does.
yeah, I seen that in the chat. Yeah, I was gonna agree with her on that one. Um, all besides the head. I mean, I don't know, man. It's kind of creepy, and this is a one of the big deep lakes, uh, which they say we know less about the ocean, the floor of the ocean, than we do about space.
I mean,
So,
supposedly we have. I didn't know this until recently, though. I kind of knew about that. You know, we have giant. There's, or not we, but in the ocean, there's giant internet cables going across the floor of the ocean and whatnot here and there, which is
dude,
such a thing.
oh my, why
It
would
just
you
makes
bring
me.
that up?
Ah, he said the ocean thing that we don't know about, and then recently because of that whole like thing that happened, I think in Russia or something recently. There's been a whole joke about the North Koreans being over in Russia during the war and whatnot, that they have that access to different internet, so they cause like an internet outage because they're all on their phones and looking up specifically more adult things that they don't get in North Korea because all their shit's controlled, and there's a whole joke about that, and I guess one of the internet lines got severed or something, and so they didn't have internet to the country for a minute, or like some area or something like that. It's just something I heard about recently, and I was like, that's fucking weird.
That's
I
enough to
thought it was
piss
funny.
off a bunch of people looking for their porn in different countries. That'll fucking send you through a loop,
Pretty
right?
much, yeah, yeah, because they've been found to be looking up porn and whatnot, other things, and they don't get North Korea, and it's hilarious. And like, there's all these jokes about you watch, they won't want to come back.
Well, and the reason I said why would you bring that up is because I've been talking about this for a couple months now, and I brought up the fact because I was listening to Sam Tripoli talk, and he was discussing how uh these satellites that are going around and everything, he's like, that's not where you're getting your internet from. Internet is all ran underground. And I was like, that's fucking weird. Whatever, why would he say something like that? And then,
But
like,
yeah, there's internet
following,
cables going across the ocean. Yeah.
yeah, dude, no, the following fucking week, Joe Rogan started talking about it with the guests that he had on. And yeah,
Oh,
there's fucking cables.
yeah. I've known about this for a while now.
That's fucked
I only
up.
recently heard about, but I heard about like I think like 2-3 years ago it became over a thing, and then like they're like actually this has been going on for like 20-30 years for like a long ass time. People just
Yeah.
don't know about it.
It's crazy too. It's like, it's so bizarre
And I'm
that
like, man, where are these cables connected to? Because supposedly they're supposed to go like distances of like all the way across the ocean, and like, huh? So are you telling me like they just peg off the internet from another country and bring it over? Like that's not how internet works. I'm really confused.
yeah, it's very bizarre. But you go into the uh we'll get into all these different conspiracy topics, but you get into propaganda, you get into the way that they our government, during the Obama administration, it became legal to use propaganda against the United States American citizens, and you can be pissed about that fact, but once you fucking look it up and you see that I'm right, you can eat my ass with a spoon, because that is a 100% fact. I've seen it many times. I just don't have my phone hooked up to my computer to where I can bring up these things. But that to me is one of the most scariest fucking things that has ever been released into our laws and things like that, because
Yeah, that's a little weird.
it's created so much division, which once you follow him, and this goes into a little further than cryptids, this goes into like the what is said to bring these cryptids to our worlds and things like that, which is up in up in Antarctica, and it's a fucking, that's why all fucking countries agree on one thing. Yeah, Antarctica. Okay, well, I'm getting sidetracked there, but
I was just listening to you. I was like, cryptids, Antarctica? What? I was like, huh?
yeah, well, what I mean, like Antarctica had there, to me, what I believe that there is a portal to the underworld, the other dimensions where where these cryptids do come from, and they've known about it, and it's the one thing. Antarctica is the one thing that all these countries have signed a peace treaty on, to not disturb that one bit of land. And for all countries, or I think it's like 176 countries or something like that, to agree onto this one thing is very bizarre to me.
That is bizarre. We could totally do you know what? Why don't we do a whole episode on that specifically alone? I'd be totally down for that one.
Yeah,
Like, we
it's pretty
could.
crazy,
That is
because
fucking weird.
I mean, look, even if you look up airline tickets to get there, because they're like, oh yeah, you can come here, nobody's stopping anybody, they're outrageous priced, and you can only go to a certain part, you can't touch, you can't disturb anything. It's a very bizarre thing. There's so much to that one
Weird.
specific spot. But yes, and going back to what I was discussing though, like during his administration, he did sign into law that it is that these companies, anybody can use propaganda against the American citizens. Their thought is into going into Big Brother and all that stuff, in which the more that they can control our thoughts and give us what we think is truth, is insane. I mean, if you think about the past 8 years, the Democratic Party got a bunch of people to not remember that they are the party that started the Ku Klux Klan. Like that's something that that needs to be looked at, because
Like,
like,
people forget Republicans are the ones that release slaves.
yeah, exactly. And that's exactly where it throws my mind for a loop, because I'm not I'm not saying every school system is good, but we are to a point in life where you have information at the palm of your hand. I could go
Why do you
into a
think the
different,
Department of Education is going to be shut down?
and I think it should be. I really do. And honestly, if you're out there and you're listening to anything I'm saying, and you're in a state where they offer school choice and you can do that, you either find a school that is going to help your kid actually thrive in what it means to be an adult, or homeschool your kid, take that money, get them into an online education, which there are many, and there's many
There's
good ones.
many nowadays, so many since COVID
Yeah,
specifically. There's so much.
and you can use that money for like actually like doing something with your kid and having them learn something. Like take them somewhere, show them the places, show them that the world's not what they're trying to tell you. Because honestly, when you said, that's why independent media is taking over the form of where people get their news, because those are people who have skin in the game. Like we talked about with Project Bluebeam, there's another one right next to that called Project Mockingbird. And Project Bluebeam doesn't work if Project Mockingbird isn't there to make sure that it works. And that's where you get all your propaganda. That's what, look into these news anchors that that anybody's watching, anybody's listening to on a mainstream. Anderson Cooper, look who his family is. Look where they come from. Look what things his father was involved in with he was coming up as a young man. you're going to be very surprised. You're also going to be very surprised with who Anderson Cooper's actually his bloodline is, and then you're going to look into, wow, this guy's family also set up our education system, and why is our education system set up like a factory? Why is that? Why is
That's just
everything?
weird.
It is. It's very weird. I mean, you get a lunchtime, you got these, you have to get this set up. It's very like I I remember one of my classes, and it was basically a nature class. And what we did, we were taught by our teacher Don, and he was a very unique man, but he taught us how to fish, he taught us how to hunt, he taught us how to look at flowers, he taught us how to determine if a plant was edible or if it was going to fucking kill us. And I learned more in that man's class for 2 years I took his class than I learned the entire 4 years I took any other class. Um, there's so many things to be said for classes like that. I mean, Elon Musk, and I can understand if you're not a fan of him, but if you look into him, the school he's setting up is based on technology and the growth of where we're going with that and the core things that you should know in adulthood. It's not based around anything to do with rewriting history or things like that. Yes, you should know your history, because if you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it. But we seem to repeat history all the time. So that
You're
kind
not
of
wrong.
it takes the wind out of the sails when you say things like that. But I mean, my rant's over with that. We'll get back to the more fun stuff with the cryptids, but I'm just saying, be careful with what you consume, because it's just as dangerous as a drug if you're out there. Because I mean, I got many people who don't even fucking talk to me anymore because of what I believe. And I think that's real sad.
Yeah. I mean, people have such an opinionated mind nowadays. They can't just be like, okay, cool, you believe in that. I don't. We can still be friends. Like, people are weird like that nowadays. I mean, the whole thing, of course, not to prolong this conversation more, but, look at the political views of the last year and whatnot. And before that, people have dropped people because of their political views. Like, come on, grow the fuck up.
Yeah.
Grow up.
I agree with you on that one. And I think that gets us set up for another cryptid that I have never heard of.
This sets up for another cryptid?
Yeah.
What political cryptid is there? I'm really curious.
I don't think there is one. I just
Okay. That's all I can think of.
Smooth. I was trying to be smooth. That's all. So, have you ever heard of the slide rock?
I've heard of it.
Altar?
Yeah.
What do you know of it? Because I've
I
never
don't know.
heard of
All I
this
know
thing.
is it's like around like forested areas it seems to live in. And I've heard,
Okay.
like it says here, Rocky Mountain National Park. Yeah. In Colorado. I've heard about that stuff, and I can't remember what it looks like. I remember something, but I don't remember what it is. I thought it was supposed to look like a lizard or something weird or something. I don't know
Well,
why I'm thinking about lizard.
they go into it and they say, in the 19th century, lumberjacks in Colorado reported seeing an enormous whale-like beast in the mountains. They said its camouflage flesh allowed it to blend into the landscape. It held onto the mountain peaks with a fluted tail, resting its colossus body below. Holy shit. What the fuck?
Colossal? Like, how big was this fucker?
Yeah.
Like, what? You say colossal. Colossal means huge, gigantic. It's supposed
Believe
to be
me,
literally a
that's why I
giant.
stopped.
Yeah,
'Cause I'm
like, what do you mean?
Yeah, well, it says when unexpected explorers crossed its path, it would release its grasp and fly down the slope, scooping up its victims with its hideous, gigantic mouth. Despite the slide rock bolter's massive size, it used gravity to its advantage to gain impressive speeds. What the fuck?
So you
is
tell me there's
this?
just like a giant peregrine falcon out there going around scooping up people? I'd say peregrine falcon because they can dive at like 200 miles per hour.
Dude,
Like all I can think is just a big ass like bird like almost thing. Like, can it fly? Does it have wings? I'm so confused.
I don't know.
I found a little bit more research on that. So in 2015, there was a horror-inspired remake of Fearsome Creatures. The Slide Rock Bolter is depicted as an enormous landfish weighing 25,000 pounds with fins, a crooked caudal fin, and three, I don't know how to say this, chitness, razor-sharp toothed gizzards. It's vulnerable to leprosy.
Wait, leprosy, vulnerable to leprosy. That's a whole entire
Leprosy.
different.
Who the fuck? Who knows that?
I have no idea. Apparently, a forest ranger whose district included the rough country between
It's always a forest ranger.
between Ophir Peaks and the Lizardhead, conceived the bold idea of deceiving a slide rock bolter to slide down its own destruction in Colorado.
So you're telling me a forest ranger supposedly made this slide rock bolter kill itself?
Apparently, it was attacked, resulting in an explosion, flattened half the buildings in Rico, which were never rebuilt.
Okay. How long was this? How long ago was this that supposedly happened?
It didn't say.
Did you say something about 2015?
Yeah, it was a horror-inspired remake of Fearsome Creatures, so it must have been a movie.
Oh. That's just weird.
That's very weird. A whale in Colorado.
I mean, could you just imagine seeing a whale flying around? I'd never come outside again.
I wouldn't either.
I no.
I mean, this thing is bizarre. Yeah, I've never heard of this, so I thought I would bring it up to you. That I'm blown away by this one, actually. I mean, a whale. All I can think about is the South Park episode where they get the whale and they want to send it to the moon because the guys are fucking with it over the loudspeaker. That's all that's going through my head.
It's gonna fly one way or another.
Okay, that's very true. It's very true.
Apparently, it'll fly one way or another.
Okay, so at the beginning of this, when we were talking about national parks and getting into it, I brought up this one, the squonk. So let's get into this one because it's the name itself is appealing to me. So the squonk, the final cryptid on this list, is one we'd love to hug and offer some words of encouragement. It's called the squonk. I think that's how you say it.
I'm gonna say yes because it sounds like skunk and ape had a baby called Squonk.
A squonk, maybe squonk, squonk. I don't know.
Skunk.
It is, and it's one sorrowful beast. What? Oh my gosh, we're gonna feel bad for one of these things. Okay, so according to the 1910 publication "Fearsome Creatures of the Lumberwoods," the squonk is a hideous four-legged monster covered in warts and saggy skin folds. It slowly wanders in the woods of northern Pennsylvania, avoiding its own reflection. What is this, Snooky? Did she make it to Pennsylvania? What the fuck are we got going on? Grun, if Grun, if you're out there, let us know.
I was expecting the Snooky thing. That got me.
Well,
all I can think is that dumb bitch from that one show.
Yeah, the fucking goddamn Jersey Shore fucks.
Yeah, that shit. God, what a time to be alive.
So this is weird. It sounds like a troll, maybe.
It does sound like a literal troll, like as in this isn't like an actual cryptid, but it also sounds like a real troll though too. Also, like this is fucked up in every way. A squonk. I'm more confused on why they'd want to hug it. Like this website, that produced this. Like why do you want to hug that? Like I don't know. Maybe this thing fell in a vat of fucking nuclear waste or some shit. It came out like this.
Maybe, but It's so fucking, the way they describe it is so gross. But yet these people who made it, they're like, oh, you just want to feel bad for it. No, I don't.
No,
It's
no, I
avoiding
kind
its
of
own
want to shoot
reflection.
it, to be honest.
It knows it's fucking terrifying.
Yeah, if it avoids its own reflection, that means it. Okay, how does it drink water though? Then, like, look down and away from the water when it drinks from a lake. Like,
That's
you know what I'm thinking?
that's true. That's true. Well, it says you you see the squonk is a dejected beast, horrified by its own appearance. It's constantly roaming the land, sobbing over its revolting physical
Wait
form.
a minute. I heard something about this. Yeah, it was something in the woods that like cries and like it's you're not supposed to go towards it. Like I think this is like an Appalachian thing I was looking into, and like because Pennsylvania is kind of close to it. And it was something about this thing that would cry on the woods, like La Lorna kind of does for down in Mexico. You know
Yeah,
what La Lorna is, right?
I've heard of it.
It's the one that will supposedly steal people's babies because it
Yeah,
drowned its own kids or whatever. And um, yeah, the squonk would like cry or something like that, and like get people to like come investigate, and then like I can't remember if it was supposed to like kill them, but yeah, it's so gross looking.
yeah,
I don't want to know. I'm good.
yeah. It's I mean, and it says it ended that out with that its tears dissolve its flesh, so it tries to not cry. So that's pretty fucking wicked, man. That's definitely one I've honestly never heard of that one, but it was interesting.
So I just found a connection between what we were just talking about before.
Okay.
I looked a little further, and that fearsome creatures of the Lumberwoods. His name is William T. Cox. He is also referred to in what we're also talking about, so the squonk and the rock slider. So this guy is a little weird.
You don't say.
I think it comes
You
from
don't
his
say.
brainchild.
He well, I mean, we're dealing with flying whales up in Colorado. Some creature that is Snooky out in Pennsylvania.
That I guess tears are acidic.
Yeah, who dissolves its own flesh with its own tears. Um,
Uh,
what the fuck?
like what is the origin of the squonk? Is now I'm curious about that because it's a very unique sounding creature.
Yeah, yeah. I think that might be something we can dive into in a deeper
That and
episode.
the slide rock bolter have my interest very much.
Yeah, they do.
You see, we talk about these cryptids. Like I said, though, it's weird. The Mothman is something that I know you're more interested in. I just never got like piqued interest of it. Like it never was like, oh man, I want to learn more about it. It's just I don't know. I can't.
Yeah,
One of those things. The Mothman kind of sounds boring to me in a way, but like the weird things that happens around the Mothman supposedly being there, that's just really weird. Like, um, I think you're sniffing too much glue.
yeah.
Maybe like paint.
Yes.
They are wild. But there is I remember reading this story. I think it was from that page. If you let me backtrack here. Did you watch that episode of What Lurks Beneath that I sent you with that guy talking about that werewolf?
I started it, but
I
then
know it's a long ass thing. It's like an hour and a half long. Yeah, it's a
yeah,
pretty long one.
I was in the middle of trying to pull some of this stuff up, and yeah, but I did start it. Go ahead
I
though.
strongly recommend to watch all that because that was a story that me and Luna, I sent it to her while I was at work and then I watched it. And so I'm going to backtrack a little bit here. Weirdly fucking enough, and I'm not going to say it was my mind playing tricks on me because it was after that and it was not even a recollection in my mind. But like a week and a half, like 2 weeks later, I watched that and I sent to Luna while I was at work because when it was before my job now where I'm working now. Again, we work in security, but it was the place that I work at now. It wasn't then, it was before that. And this was like that was back in January, I think, that I watched that and it came out, maybe before that. And so I used to only work weekends. Well, one of these Sunday nights. So I'd work 6 to 6 on Saturday, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. And Sunday nights was 2 o'clock till 10 o'clock. And I would drive home. And it was a little bit snowy out, and I was going home, and I seen this deer. This one particular hill, which has got a really nice house next to it. Luna knows what I'm talking about. It's a really nice log house, and there's a little lake there. And it was going up the hill. That's off to your left when you go up like the highway, the 2-lane highway, and that's off to your left. And you go up and over this like hill, and then that's the road continues. Across the road, before I got to this like T of like where the road before that crosses over and goes to this house with a really nice lake and stuff or a little pond, um, a deer sprinted out in front of me. And I slowed down, and then all of a sudden I seen it off to my right, staring and then looking back at the deer between my truck and the deer. It was as big as a wolf, but it wasn't a fucking wolf because I thought it was another deer following it for a second. I thought it was a black bear or a black deer specifically. And I was like, that's not unheard of. We have black deer here. Actually, we've seen them before. I thought it was a moose for a fucking second, like a female moose. And it looked at me and it ran off. It was very skinny, but large. And that's where it threw me off. Like, that's not a bear. That's way too tall. And then it ran off. And I don't know what the fuck it is, but it totally fucked with me ever since this year. I don't know what I seen, but I seen it take off into this little patch of woods and it was gone. And mind you, before this, there's this patch of woods there, like a short, small amount of trees. And then beyond that, up the hill, it's all farmland. So I don't know where it went to, but it just ran back in this patch of trees. I was like, what the fuck was that? I was like, man, did I just see a werewolf or some shit? Because that was weird.
That's fucking crazy. That's
Yeah. And I've never had something like that happen to me. Well, I've had weird things happen in the woods, but that was something totally out of like nowhere. I'm just like, I'm driving home. That's it. And just listen to the radio, driving home, make sure I don't spin out across the road and just going home. And then that all of a sudden happened. Just a deer walking out in front of me. I told Luna when I got home about it, I was like, man, I don't know what the fuck I seen, but it had these glowing eyes and it took off. And I was like, that was fucking creepy. That was just weird. I thought it was a wolf the whole time. I really did. But I'm like, man, it's too damn big to be a wolf. Like even a timber wolf, it's too big to be a wolf. Like it was the size of a bear. And like it was just long and skinny. And I was just like, man, like, did I see a fucking werewolf for a second? Like
you could have, man. They got them in Paris.
I mean, I like stories of werewolves. I don't fully believe in werewolves. Some things are weird, but I'm just not fully. I'm on the fence about it a little bit. I'm not saying werewolves couldn't possibly exist. I think they possibly could, but I'm always on the fence about it. But the story I sent you, that kind of more embraced it for me. And I'm like, man, this fucking story this guy is telling is wild. And I'm like, you can tell he's about to cry with every word he's saying. Like he looks very emotionally drained as he's telling the story. And I'm like, it's hard to keep an act up like that if you're lying about it.
Yeah, it is. And the thing is this world is way older than what we'll ever experience or will ever know. So to me, there could be a chance because there was multiple things that were created. Like here's something I learned. Well, it's something I was informed about, which made me kind of think of the story of Noah in a different light. So I believe that there was at one point, as we know in the story, the fallen angels that came down, that were cast out of heaven, thrown out after the war that happened up there. And then those fallen angels, they ended up mating with the Nephilim giants that were here. And then what was created from that mated with the humans, and which created certain things, because that's how I feel the consciousness of man, the thought of man came in, because we were, as they said, Neanderthals, cavemen. We were trying to discover shit, trying to do whatever cavemen were doing at that time. This thing happened. Well, the Nephilim giants started basically cannibalizing each other. And if you believe in the story, so God's watching this happen, he ends up going, you know what, this isn't going to happen. He instructs Noah to build this giant ark, and he ends up flooding the earth. And the reason why he was flooding the earth is because people weren't able to kill these giants and things like that. They were still taking over. They were causing a ruckus on earth. So he flooded it to get rid of them. And from that, though, I believe some things did survive. I believe the idea of like werewolves, the idea of a vampire, I believe those are actual like things that could be around, because they're discussed in multiple different uh, parts of humanity, the lore of these things. So it had to start from somewhere.
So, in essence of the how you're talking about vampires there, I sent you that link to that Wartime Stories, that YouTube page. There is one about vampires in somewhere. There's one of the stories in there. I want you to watch that, by the way. It's on that YouTube page. It's not too long ago the episode came out, but it's something with these officers and like vampires or something, and like and this is a long time ago story. Like this happened, and these events of finding the potential these vampires in this town, and there's a whole like you look it up. This shit wasn't just made up for this YouTube video. Like there's his stories actually are accounts or like retellings of like these old military stories and whatnot, the occult and supernatural and weird things. And so it's not just now times, it's from 1800s and previously as well. And this story I think is from 1700s. I think this story is, but strongly recommend you to watch that about this vampire one, because I was like, man, this is fucking interesting. Like it was really good to listen to. And
Yeah.
About these officers that I'm trying to think of what it is, because I'm trying to think what they spoke. I keep thinking of Dutch, but it wasn't that. It was like Transylvania area, but it was this one town that was very north to like near Russia, I think, or Siberia. I can't remember where. And um they had this one, I think he was an
Root.
explorer, a journalist, or he's the one that took account of details for the military, for their government. And I think it's Austrian government is actually what it is. I
Yeah,
think
Luna.
that's what
I
it is
was
in this
gonna
episode.
say Austrian army.
Yeah, Austrian army. She knows what I'm talking about, I think, because she watched it with me. I think
Gotcha.
she did. But yeah, they this is like way back then. If you want to look up that episode for me, it's Wartime Stories on YouTube, I think, hon. I think that's his page. Literally, if you Google the smoke pit, it also comes up too. But he's telling it, and that they found these people were popping up when they would bury them. They would do it a certain way, and they were fearful that they would come in the middle of the night to come and kill them from the cemetery. And this is a very like desolate place. Like you could tell like it's plagued by like a certain thing, because that shredded area was just like dead trees and whatnot and everything. It was a very like bad environment thing. And yeah, Wartime Stories, yeah, documented military reports of vampires. And it was such an interesting story that he'd talk about this, and it's all the way back then, like that long ago. This is accounted details that to the it was the I think they're called the president of Austria. He wanted every single piece of detail that he could find about possibly vampire related things, and he had it brought to him and information, like everything about it. Like he was very much getting all the research he could about it because he believed in them. And he heard all these details from his officers and whatnot, and all these other things that would happen, and anything in their country and whatnot, or anything in Europe, he was like he wanted information about. I think there's something that happened in France, and he got it reported to him, like all the details and like artifacts and stuff. Like they found a bunch of stuff.
Well,
Yeah.
that goes into a lot of over there. Here we go. We got Luna chiming in where the story starts. So if you're looking into exactly what he's talking about and you want further more into it, here's the episode that you can find on YouTube. Type this into your search, and then Luna's got you started right there. You go into 2 minutes and 28 seconds, and that's where it starts. But getting back to what you're talking about, yeah, that's why I believe in a lot of these things, because there's a lot of military stories from different countries' militaries about things like this. And it goes into there's blood transfusions, there's things like that. There's when I say vampire, I'm not talking like Braun Stroker out there, writing us a fantastic story about it. What I'm talking about is like there's ways that a vampire is supposed to be timeless. They're
Mhm.
able to continue um, the shell, their appearance at that age of young, because they're supposed to be alluring, attracting to their victims and things like that. There's a very big romantic side that involves with a vampire, you know. But there's things out nowadays, like I was saying, a blood transfusion. You can legit, if you're in your, let's say, 80s, and you have somebody who's willing to, you can get their blood transfused into you. And if you don't think that has some type of ability to make you uh, feel younger, maybe repair some things, you're crazy, because it happens. They do it all the
It
time.
does happen.
I
Yeah.
mean,
They
they do it
use
in
younger blood, and it's like they use healthy blood to basically rejuvenate your body in a way that it'll feel healthier. It happens all the time, actually.
exactly.
Even, and I'm gonna kind of fuse into something else, is look at people that get like liver transfers or kidney transfers and whatnot. They develop different appetites and whatnot, and these weird things. And
Yeah,
they like, there's been plenty of people that somebody that was I think they were a vegan or something I read about, and they never ate meat, and then they got like a liver transfer, and like it's all they craved was to eat like beef and steak and chicken, and like they stopped being a vegan because their body changed. Same thing with that though, with the blood thing, is people developed weird like little ticks or something like that because of it, and they just feel better, and they just have these different ways.
yeah,
It's weird, but it happens.
yeah. And I mean, to me, that's kind of vampiric, however you want to say it.
Like
I
there is a
mean,
science to it more than you think, basically, is what we're saying.
yeah, there
There's a
really is.
scientific thing to it.
I mean, just think of stem cells. Stem cells are blank cells until you apply them to an area or inside a body, and they turn into those cells and continue the process of them. That's
Hmm.
what they do. That's what happens. And honestly, we all have stem cells inside of us also. I mean, they're just older, and they're, kind of under the processes of being developed. But that's neither here nor there. We're going into further things.
No, you know what I'm thinking about? Because as you're talking about this, all I can think about is zombies. Possibly this is how an outbreak starts because of stem
Oh,
cells and all that shit. And all I'm thinking at the same time is like, technically, wouldn't the zombie be a cryptid? You know, I'm right. Yeah, isn't zombies technically a cryptid if you think about it?
I mean, if you think about it, it could be. Yeah, I mean, it could fall under the whole cryptid theory.
I'm just thinking that's how a zombie apocalypse starts, is because somebody had the wrong stem cells or something regrown. And
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
mean,
there's been reports more than once of specifically in Florida, weirdly enough, which is where we're all pretty sure the apocalypse is going to start. By the way, I'm pretty sure it's going to start in Florida.
sounds
Definitely zombie outbreak will start there. Um, but that there was seen these vehicles and whatnot that were like quarantine vehicles and whatnot, and go to these weird places that all of a sudden they're like, yeah, and then it blocks off this whole area because something happened. I seen a video not so long ago. I think it was I can't remember what state it was, but I remember this whole area got blocked off by this gate and like gated in thing like overnight, like literally in a couple hours. Like there was all these vehicles that went on for miles across this it was these this community of houses that something happened there, and they had it all blocked out with gates and such, and like police and like checkpoints of security all along this gate weirdly just put up for no reason. Nobody has a I tried to find out more about it at the time. This was literally a couple months ago. I want to say back in maybe August I learned about it. I couldn't find any more information about it. It was just like a dead story, and I was like, this is fucking weird.
That
Like,
is
why are these all just popping up for no reason? Like, nobody's giving any information, but they block off this whole entire like area of houses for like miles and do a whole security checkpoint thing all the way around it. It was like near this like beach, like ocean of water or something. So I don't think it was Florida. I think it was actually like for some reason New Mexico or something. I don't know why.
that's very bizarre.
I can't remember where it was, but yeah, it is bizarre because they were just all of a sudden quarantined for like no reason.
I mean that honestly goes into my um, brain of just numerous amounts of just
I
all
know.
this information, and it goes into thinking of the towns that are just completely everybody just up and leaves in the middle of the night.
Oh, like all the ones down like actually near you, kind of in Pennsylvania and the Indiana. I think there's one in there's a few in Pennsylvania I've heard about, and like other
Well,
places, that they just did that.
some people say this. I don't say this, but some people do. But those are CIA and FBI training towns where they're training them, and then once they get their mission, they all move on out.
Uh,
Some people say it.
I wouldn't unbelieve that. I don't think that's unbelievable. I mean, it could be for certain things. I mean, shit, you don't know, deep covert shit where they just act like a town and they do like these weird trading things and whatnot, or train people to act a certain way or something. Who knows? That could be a thing.
Luna's chiming in. She said, wait a minute, I just found an article about a Haitian man ingesting drugs that revived him. This is 1962. I've heard about those things. She also chimed in with, this also ties into the Illuminati with celebrities supposedly using young people's blood to rejuvenate themselves.
You're just saying shit that'll trigger Joshua.
I know.
That's one of them.
This is what it really did it. The adrenochrome. She ain't fucking lying about it. The adrenochrome is definitely something that they desire. And I've been looked at differently in some family members' eyes when I jumped into it. I really went off one get together about how these elites, these people in power are fucking eating children, and what I should have said was they're taking the adrenochrome, in which to get that you have to terrify somebody, usually of a younger age. It's disgusting, but it's usually before puberty, and you want to terrify them so much that this adrenochrome flows into their blood, and then that's when they extract the blood.
I just thought of something. I know what made Monsters Inc.
I'm saying here,
Luna's so shocked right now. Think about it.
Yeah, I'm with Luna on this one because I'm sitting here talking about adrenochrome and terrifying.
Think about what made Monsters Inc. They needed to scream, and what age are all these children?
Yeah,
before puberty.
Fuck. You just ruined one of my
I know you don't like that, but think about it.
No, it makes perfect
sense.
Just when I thought they fucking left Monsters Inc. alone. I never made that
Monsters
fucking
Inc. is literally the meaning of it.
What the fuck?
And then funny enough though, if you think about more, what do they do to the kids instead of scaring them? They make it basically show business. Hollywood. They make them laugh, and they do all these acts for them in the movie at the end. Like, that's how they don't scare them anymore. They make them laugh. Like, think about it.
Oh, I am. That's the problem.
It's fucking
Um,
creepy the more you think about it.
yeah, they yeah.
Did I just come up with a conspiracy on my own accidentally? This is 2 times in a row now.
Yeah, I don't know if that's one out there. I'll tell you this, I know I've never heard that one. But that does make a connection, and it's
It
kind
does
of,
make a connection more than you think about it. It makes more sense
yeah,
too. That
it's a very terrifying connection too. I mean, yeah, I mean it does, and that's what's really, I'm getting like PTSD from this.
yeah, but you know what? This is what we're supposed to be doing on this podcast.
That's true. That's true. I mean,
It's all about conspiracies.
in this studio, there is a hard drive that has some things that Miss Clinton had on her hard drive, and it was really focused around this subject itself. It's really bringing some
Who looks
stomach
so
to
scared
me.
over there?
I
You
do.
okay? She is so scared of the corner now. The more she thinks about it, you don't like
Well,
Monster Inc. anymore, do you?
yeah, I mean it's really kind of hitting too, because here's another thing. Then I believe we talked about it in the last one. Yeah, I know we did. Um, they have to show you what they are doing for it to work, for it to actually have the power that they think that it has. And it may have, because here's another thing before I get in further into that. This is what really kind of made me fully believe that there is something that created us. And it's a simple thought that Sam Tripoli said on his show the other day. He said the reason he knows that there is a good, there's a God, is because that there's people who believe in bad and evil. So he knows that there has to be a counter, because even when we're looking into these gigantic explosions that are happening in outer space, when we look into these the smallest cells and what they do when they combined, you're getting basic instructions of life. Like there's one that they just came up that they just found and seen. I, it's like some quantum cell thing like that. But once they could see it as a single cell, it actually made the yin and yang image.
Whoa.
Yeah, and I'm talking even with the dots, everything. It made the image. And that happens every time. Like that's what's making that thing bigger and bigger. So what I'm saying is that there is something out there, and for them to have to show you for it to work, that's something that needs to be like learnt, like burnt into your brain when you consume these things. Because when we're looking into them, and honestly, I'm feeling foolish too for never making that connection that you made, because it is exactly what I'm talking about. And anybody is more than welcome to look up any of the stuff I'm talking about. I mean, I'll even throw it up there, right there. Adrenochrome. Look it up. It's
I've
not,
heard of this before.
yeah, it's not something I'm making up.
No, adrenochrome is a real thing that we've all had actually before went through puberty. We had that thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you still produce it. It's just not good. It's not like what they want. They want the young of it.
It's
The innocent.
adrenaline, isn't basically the peak of adrenaline, right? That's what it is.
Basically, but the purity of your blood, I mean, think about it. Think about a lot of these, like uh just hearing of old tribes and sacrificing. What they sacrifice, it wasn't the old guy who's seen some shit in the tribe.
There was
they
always
want
kids.
they want kids, they want virgins, they want people who haven't experienced certain things, because everything is energy. And let me start this off. All of these are my own thoughts. Whatever you hear come out of this mouth is something that I've thought or I've seen or things like that. Nobody else is connected to it until they give their voice and say, yeah, I believe that too.
Hmm.
But what I believe is that everything is energy. We all have energy. So when, like, let's say me and you, we go to a wrestling show, we shake hands. In some form or fashion, we're exchanging positive energy with each other because we are friends who are meeting each other for something that we both enjoy. So there's a lot of like positivity going on in that
Yep.
moment. Now, let's say fucking war pops off. We're in the trenches over somewhere, and all of a sudden I hear your voice, you hear my voice. I'm like, Viking? And you're like, voice? We do have a positive energy going on there for the meeting, but it's consumed with negative, with bullets flying over our fucking heads and people dying around us. So that energy is going to cement something different in us as opposed to if we were to meet each other in a positive environment,
Yep.
if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So with that, energy is transferred into all these different things. So it could be a tree can absorb your energy from something that happens in the woods. A rock can absorb your energy from something that happens there. So ultimately what I'm saying is once our
I was
body,
gonna hold on before you finish that.
yeah,
I'm gonna ask this first. Are you saying that because, and that makes sense to me, and I'm along with this. The energy you create is what the energy will be around you, is what I've always gone with. And that
yeah,
to me is like the whole karma thing, of course, and being, a good energy because it Luna is Wiccan as well. So I had this understanding with her. Like there's things that, to this day I see weird things out of the corner of my eye. I'm like, did that fucking happen or did it not? To me, it's always during a time though, if you notice it, it's maybe when there's like some bad energy near you or something, or like a bad time in your life or certain things is when it'll happen. And like I'm not the only person to say this. I know that for a fact. But if there was a certain time that something happened in your life and then something weird or something dark happened at the exact same moment, you make the connection of maybe this is because of that moment that happened to me or something. There
yeah.
was for me specifically very recently that happened. I was like, yeah, that's probably from that, I'm guessing. And that makes total sense to me because it's happened to you and you would understand that yourself, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, that to me, it's always energy is what makes it around you is that will bring these things about as dark and good energies, like you said. Because if now that I think about it, yeah, you go to a wrestling show, it's always a positive thing. Because you and me would know this when you go to a wrestling show, like the Kurt Angle show, I mean, this coming not, in a week is Godfather. We're gonna have him. Like it's gonna be a positive, big ass show. Kurt Angle was. Everybody loved it. The whole place was packed, dude. I've never seen the place that fucking packed. It was great. Which
And
again, I'm gonna say this Frontline Pros doing great. We're doing amazing. We have so many big shows. We doubled our shows from 12 to 13 to like 24 for this year. In a year, we doubled them because we have so much going on.
but
And you feel that positive energy, and like
that's
you
what I was
have that.
gonna
Like you're right. Yeah. You do
that's what I
have
was
that
gonna
positive
say.
energy in the building. Like you're all like, yeah, this is a cool thing. We're all here for this. Think about a concert. Think about a sporting event. It's a positive energy for you and that side of your like sport events, your team. Like, you're to have the positive energy there. Say for example, sorry, Joseph, but if you take it when the Packers are going to beat the shit out of the Bears again for 11 games in a row or 11 years in a row, we're going to have a positive energy in Green Bay Stadium and Lambeau Field. It's going to
Yeah.
be that for us. And we're, what I mean. Like that's what it's going to be. It's going to be positive. It's Lambeau Field, of course. Um, there's going to be a positive energy there for a bunch of Packers fans. Like, yeah, so I can totally see what you're getting at. Like, it makes sense.
Yeah. And here's where we can take a dark turn in that. When you have that energy out there and you have, say, the masses with it, there's a technique that they use to dull that down and create chaos, and it is uh, chemtrails. When you have big gatherings of people and you want them to be controlled, they will do chemtrails over that specific area.
I
And
mean, look at football events or a racing event. What do they fly over all the time?
jets.
Yep.
Interesting.
But how does that work though when it's inside an enclosed stadium though?
How does that work? Well,
Yeah,
that's
how does that work? Because they even though do it because then the chemtrail is supposed to get in. Like, how would it get into the bit? Well, I guess it could be sucked in through an air system or something, but I don't know.
yeah. I mean, it's just something I've been looking into and researching more about. But I do believe that is a way that they do control, because I mean, if you go back to the Summer of Love in 2020, there was quite a few people discussing on their different live streams. It was weird that there was a lot of jets flying over at that time.
Uh-huh.
And you know, when you are trying to create order, some people believe that there is order created out of chaos, in which that is a theory. I mean, it's
As
a
in COVID happened right during that.
and did you guys all notice that the Summer of Love was not a super spreader, but every positive thing was a super spreader? Your
Yep.
church, a concert, a gathering of people just having fun. Those were all things. So, again, these are just my opinions, but I really do think that people should seek out alternative things that were here way before that. And the sun itself is one of those things. If you just get the sun uh hitting your skin for 20 minutes a day, you're going to have some definite improvements in your everyday health. Now, if you're out there and you're dying of something and sitting in the sun, I'm not saying that that's going to fucking help you. What I am saying though is getting the natural vitamins from the sun will help you in just your regular fucking life. And if you live in a place like I live, where 6 months out of the year the sun's not your friend, you know, there's plenty of fucking things out there you can take. They got I highly recommend On It. Go out there, get on their website, see what they're working with out there, and then get into their mushrooms, because mushroom spores are one of the only things that can survive out there in space. So it's got some health benefits. What do you
Bro,
want in
what
the
the
fuck?
fuck? That was a whole other like angle. I was expecting the mushrooms and get on their website. Like, what? What the fuck?
Dude, see, and this is why Luna's got to be careful by putting things up like this, because if you put shit up like that, my fucking mind's gonna go
Yeah,
and
you
try
made
to
him go down
save
a
as
whole
many.
other rabbit trail. I'm gonna be honest about the chemtrails thing. Is too the chemtrails thing is way too far gone for me as being a conspiracy thing. To me, it really is. I like hearing about it, but at the same time, I'm like, man, this is kind of fucking sounds a little bit stupid. Like sometimes, like some of the things, I'm like, man, it's a little far fetched. But I was like, hell, maybe. Who the fuck knows? I mean, and it doesn't help that every single chemtrail thing that's said about is usually literally said by some whack job that you would never believe. A lot of
Yeah,
times it's like this dude's kind of crazy. Have you ever noticed that the chemtrail stories are always somebody that you're like, yeah, I don't know.
yeah. I
I mean,
mean,
to me, one of the greatest like stories like that, I actually believe it as if you want to talk a little bit like political things, um, she does because her dad worked for the Navy and he dealt with this stuff, and she's told me some shit.
well, if he would
Um,
ever want to come on or do a video
oh,
telling
that'd
that
be great if
story,
he could,
we
but
would.
he's not alive anymore.
Oh, well, fuck, man! What the? God damn it!
That'd be cool. I always said like there's certain things I was like, man, I wish I could talk to your dad about this. Like it'd be pretty cool to talk about this. But the chemtrail thing is a little far to me. The one I was gonna say, like one story that was a conspiracy for a second and became true is the drug pandemic of the 90s that hit the South. The CIA for I don't know if you ever seen that movie. Josh Hartnett did it. He's the one that did that new trap movie about the serial killer at the concert.
Yeah,
Um, he did the story of the reporter. I can't remember his name. If you could look it up, please, Luna. Josh Hartnett. He's the actor that did it. I just can't remember the movie. But it was all about the CIA and how they brought in drugs from Cuba and whatnot in exchange for guns and everything. They're the one that caused the drug pandemic in the 90s, and for specifically in um, minority communities. I'm gonna say minorities because it was blacks, Latinos, whatever race you are, um, and that there was all of those, is that they would flood those communities. Hartnett, I think. I think that was Josh Hartnett's name. Hartnett. Nett, I think is it. And but yeah, it's a whole movie about it. I watched it. I was like, fuck, this is a good movie. And I was like, shit, this actually happened. And they made him out to be a crazy person and whatnot, everything. I think eventually he sewer slide himself. Of course, like how they all end. And I think that's what happened years later. Like they made him a crazy person. He tried exposing it, and they basically made him look crazy and whatnot, like they always do.
Well, I know exactly what you're talking about, and it's involved in with the Clinton, Bill Clinton when he
Yep.
was over down in Little Rock, and George Bush, the daddy, who was a part of he was a head of the CIA at that time, and Clinton actually pardoned his connection before he left office. Um, they were flying cocaine into this airport in Little Rock, Arkansas, and then they were distributing it out to the three-letter organizations, and those organizations were taking it into, you guessed it, minority communities. And yes, this did happen in the 90s, but this was happening throughout the entire governorship of Bill Clinton down there in Arkansas. And they were taking this coke, and they were putting it into large urban areas, exactly like Viking Storm was talking about. And they were pushing this stuff hard too. I mean, you have the crack epidemic of the 80s, and then it turned into the 90s, and then now you got the 90s turned into the meth. Methamphetamines turned into what they're doing now, and whatever that is too fucking weird for me. Um, I mean, it gets to a point to where, again, like I was saying, order out of chaos. This is a playbook that they follow. It's called Rules for a Radical. If you're interested, you can go and look it up. It's actually the guy who wrote it, Bill Ayers. He was a part of the Weather Underground, who was a radical protest group, I believe, in the 60s, 70s era. Who they did quite a few bombings and things like that. But the reason I bring that up, and the reason I know so much of it, is because that was also one of Obama's professors when he was in college.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. Which you can go into it, look into the preacher, the priest that Obama was following, Reverend Wright, who was also a radical for the Weather Underground. He was basically like a spiritual leader, a connection to the urban um, population that they wanted to reach. And in the Rules for a Radical is order out of chaos. And if you look into some of the interviews with Obama, especially in his last year of his presidency, he talks about how to get the overall control over a group is you have to flood them with misinformation, things that are contrary to what is actually truth. And then you create mass confusion. And then within that confusion, you can develop propaganda to steer the sheep any way you want to go. He didn't say sheep, but that's exactly where all of this comes from, is steering sheep into where they need to go for you. And that's how we are viewed. We are not viewed as like, I'm not viewed as Josh to them. I'm viewed as the card that we all carry, our social security card. It's a document. It's a contract that you sign into once your parents sign all this information. And again, any of this information that I'm spewing out that sounds insane, like your drunk uncle at Thanksgiving who's telling you they're turning the frogs gay. Well, and technically they are, because of the chemicals they are doing. I could go into my whole Alex Jones thing, but I'm not. But yeah, again, where I'm getting at, I know I add a little comedy into what I'm saying, but all that stuff you can look it up. I mean, it's very, and I would, if
Oh
I
no,
were,
I still love the voice clip of Alex Jones saying that though. It's great.
yeah,
I've always liked that one. Turn the
uh,
frogs gay.
my favorite Alex Jones clip ever is Joe. I'm kind of retarded. I mean, that is just my favorite. I use that all the time. There's so many of my friends are tired of seeing that meme in their chats. But I mean,
Okay.
honestly, there's a lot of information I did throw out there. But anybody out there, if you're interested in actually looking that stuff up, I would highly advise you to go and look it up. DuckDuckGo is definitely where I use most of my search engine stuff. And to run a test on the accuracy of DuckDuckGo, easily just
I've
type
heard
in
of it
exactly
before.
what you would type in Google, type them into both search engines, and see what pops up. I guarantee you're going to have a further, more accurate reach on DuckDuckGo than you will with
Again,
Google.
I'm gonna intervene with that is because I've seen before where you search for the same thing with somebody next to you, it's different.
Yeah.
Because literally, okay, I'm gonna say this because look at your algorithms for everything you view. Specifically, I've noticed with YouTube, okay, over the last year, because there were certain things I would look at and I was like, man, I see all this more and more pop up. The more you look at, like, say you're looking at car community shit, or gun community shit, like more of that's gonna pop up in your feed.
Yes.
And you're not going to see anti-gun stuff. You're not going to see, anti, I guess, motor enthusiast stuff. Whatever you look at, you won't see that. You're going to see what's tailored to you.
Yeah.
Same thing when you Google something. Your phone is going to Google what your specifics over the things that you looked at before would be. Same thing when you look at an ad through Facebook of like some website. Like weirdly enough, collectibles and whatnot for me pop up all the time. I look at it through them, and then later on in like say for example, iFunny, I'm scrolling through it. That little ad thing will literally be the ad I was looking at like literally like hours earlier of like some
Mhm.
website. And I'll see the specific like say for example an RC car website. I'll see that website and I'll see the ones I was looking at on the site be advertised. And that's just, right there. An example is you will see that all the time. Look at different things. Don't because what you see is not always actually what you're supposed to see.
Yeah.
They're tailored to you
And
specifically.
and with DuckDuckGo, you are able to wipe your search clear every single time so that you can never develop a algorithm on there.
Oh yeah,
Um,
they protect you.
and which, algorithms can be good, but when you are, to me, an algorithm is just another link in the chain to keep you chained,
Mhm.
because like Viking pointed out,
And
it
this is a
constantly.
conspiracy thing, by the way. This whole thing for me with the website thing, it's literally just been proven.
Mhm.
It's not a conspiracy when it is actually fucking true. And I've seen it. I've been next to a buddy, Googled the same thing, and we're like, we look at the things that are popping up. That's not what is popping up for me. Why is it different from yours? Because it's going to show you what they think you'll like.
Exactly, but again, that's propaganda in itself, because
Uh huh.
if you truly want evolution of people and you want them to experience life, in an algorithm, you would show them new things. You wouldn't show them something that keeps them in their own bubble. Yes, you are
Yeah.
learning new things inside that bubble, but we've all learned that our bubbles are bad and we need to be outside of our bubble and experiencing new things. And to me, a search engine or a company like Google, the top people, if you were to sat down and tell them exactly what you just told me, they would tell you that's not happening. I'll go and see um, a Joe Rogan episode with when he had a Tim Pool on with the Twitter execs at the time, I believe. Um, And we had Luna chiming in. And the next episode, DuckDuckGo will sponsor Joshua Joseph. I wish they would. I would take some of that DuckDuckGo money anytime.
Yeah, they're a very popular website for a reason.
Yeah, I mean,
They make money.
To be honest, they are the ones I do search a lot of this stuff up on. And I know a lot of people go out there and you say whatever you say about DuckDuckGo, but you're also saying that because the people who developed Google, people who developed all the other search engines don't want competition. And I don't understand why people don't fucking see that for what it is instead of just going out there like Rumble. Rumble's an excellent fucking video platform service. Yes, is there a lot of loonies over there? Yeah, but guess what? You kicked them off fucking YouTube, so where the fuck were they going to go?
Exactly. Same thing with Kick and Twitch.
Yeah, exactly. Like, just come on, people. There are things out there that's why there's so many goddamn different flavors of fucking ice cream. There's so many fucking flavors of ice cream that there's one place that did their own fucking store called 31 Flavors. It's Baskin Robbins, you goddamn idiots. Just fucking look at the shit. It's right there in your fucking face. So obviously competition, you know what? I get told Hondas are better than Hyundais. Guess what? I went out and bought a Hyundai because it was cheaper than the Honda. So that's why I purchased that. There's many different fucking things of everything. So come on. Let's just.
Well, I think I drive a Toyota because I don't like other brands.
Exactly.
Toyota's been proven to fucking be bulletproof for how many goddamn years? Like, I love those. I love their vehicles. Okay. Okay. Let me do this. Toyota is great in their own right because I love the fact of their policy of in their factories over in China or where the fuck they're made, Japan. I think it's Japan. That in their factories, if one of their workers has an idea about safety or something that will improve the car, they stop production and listen to them. They listen to their employees. They listen to them specifically, be like, hey, this could improve this possibly. We'll try it out. And they do. Okay.
Well,
and Toyota for like fucking 30 years or longer than that they made bulletproof Hilux trucks in the 90s and their vehicles were all known to be reliable and never broke down. I bought a Toyota because of that. Have I lived with Chevy as lifelong as my family did? Yeah, that's what we grew up on. We had Chevys. And I was like, yeah, they're cool. But honestly, when it came down to it, I'll never get a Ford because everybody's like, they have military grade vehicles. Yeah, do you know what military grade fucking means, you idiot? It means common. It's literally just the standard base shit. That's all it is. It's nothing special. It's not improved. And for years, Ford pushed out these, with Dennis Leary doing the voiceover, they have these military grade vehicles, which I thought the commercials were always hilarious because they were animated. And I thought it was cool as a kid. But that's all it is. It's basic bitch. That's all they are. They're a basic bitch. There's nothing special. That's why the F-150 was so lifelong, because they pushed them out to be so tough with military grade. And you fucking idiots. Military grade means literally just common bitch. That's all it is. It's the common bottom of the line shit that a vehicle could be made. And so, yeah.
But see,
my little choice for a vehicle was either a Toyota or I was going to get a Ram. I literally wanted either one of those because I liked Rams and they've been pretty good over the years. And to be honest, a Toyota and Dodge doesn't look like every fucking Chevy and Ford out there on the road nowadays because they're all ugly as shit and just look like a retarded misshaped square or rectangle, and they're just ugly as fuck. They're big plastic pieces of trash to me.
And they know that the dummies aren't going to go out there and research it. Like you hear military grade, and they expect their buying.
You ask any veteran, he'll be like, "I wouldn't buy that fucking shit because I know what it means."
But you ask fucking Joe Schmo with a 9 to 5, and he's like, "I fucking love the military, man. They're the best. I'm buying my Ford. You guys see this military Ford I got out here?"
Exactly.
Like, hey Jim, you're a dickhead. But you know, either outside of that, some of these companies realize that they can
manipulate.
Yeah, manipulate the ever living shit out of you, which actually goes back into the propaganda, all that stuff. So I've covered it. I've covered all that.
Lou's been dying in the corner at us this whole time, by the way.
I know. I've been reading her on the chat.
By the way, real quick, that movie's called Target Number One. That's the name of that movie that Josh Hartnett did about that reporter, that journalist and everything that was investigating that with them doing the cocaine exchange for weapons. Yeah.
You got to love our United States government.
Yep. And
But
people say, trust the government. I do. The fuck I will.
they fucking, yeah.
For
I
what,
don't
man?
think.
They do some stupid ass shit that's weird. Do you want to get this? Okay, and this maybe not our country, but over in the UK, there's a town that's charging people. They're gonna put up a fence around their cemetery, and they're gonna charge people with like a VIP pass to come and visit because they're trying to keep out undesirables, as they said. They're basically giving people fucking battle pass to come see their dead relatives.
I like it.
Yep. Literally, that's what they're doing, man. In this fucking town, I was like, that's fucked up. That's really fucked up.
It is, but you have to wonder what the fuck's going on. I mean, over in Ireland, I just heard this the other day. Do you know what the number one name of newborn babies in Ireland is?
I don't want to know. What?
Muhammad.
What the fuck?
Look into it. And I think that's a good breaking point we need on this episode, because if Luna types in any more things into the chat, I might explode.
We're from cryptids to some shit that you triggered Joseph on hard.
Yeah, we kind of went a little off the rails of the cryptids. That's my fault.
Oh god.
I will take full responsibility for those things.
I mean, in an aspect of it though, this is what we're supposed to do, not just one topic, but multiple topics. This is what we're doing. We're just having fun doing it. Again, as I will reiterate, I don't believe in everything that's conspiracy theory. There's some shit where I'm like, that's fucking retarded. Like, no way. There's some shit where I'm just like, nah. Some shit I believe in. Cryptids specifically, I do believe in. There's only certain cryptids I believe in though, because some it's a little too far fetched and a little weird.
This
I
whale
should say
one seems
this.
weird.
My next one though will be, and I really want to do this, is it's a good one. It's Appalachia.
All
The
right.
Appalachians. The Appalachians will be our next one that I want to do. I
So
don't know what
then
you're doing for the next episode in like what'll be 2 weeks, the 20th? Yeah.
I'll have to keep that.
I don't know what you have planned up
right
for it because it's going to be yours next one, but mine will be the Appalachians though. That one I'm specifically for supernatural things and weird ass things. I should say this is if anyone ever hears whistling outside your fucking house at night, don't go investigate it. Anybody in Appalachia knows this because that's a very big thing there, is because people disappear when they would investigate it. I'm not just saying that, it's fucking proven. Appalachia is the Bermuda Triangle of the US, and I will fucking say that every single time. Because vehicles randomly turn off at certain parts. It's a very supernatural place. Like, and you think about it, though, Appalachia has been because they have their own kind of law up there and shit, and like they're their own people, and they're basically kind of a mini like country in the U.S. at times, and it's very well documented. They have their own law up there. There's police will not go up there for certain reasons because they're scared they'll never come back.
Well,
yeah,
there you go, fans. Viking Storm just teased you with a little bit of knowledge of what he's going to be talking about next time. So check into that. That will be what we'll do mine next.
Mine will be in like what, January then?
Yeah, so we'll be kicking it off in January for the new year with some Viking Storm talking about the Appalachia.
Because of course with that 20th and the next one would be somewhere near New Year's Eve, but I think we'll just skip that one because it's the holidays and I'm pretty sure I will probably possibly be working. I'm not sure. We'll have to touch base on that, but it's that time of the holidays. What is that on the calendar now? I'm curious. Yeah, December 21st, Luna says. No, it would be the 4th. Yeah. January 4th would be our next one then.
All right.
So yeah.
We'll discuss all of that fun stuff, but I think you know what? With the 21st, let's
that one's up to you, man. Whatever you want to look into.
I'm debating, fans, if you're out there and you're listening, here's the what you can vote in on. So you just click onto the link of wherever you're watching this and drop me a little line here and vote between, we're either going to do Project Mockingbird or we will let's dive into the JFK files.
Ooh, I
So
like the
those will be your
J
two
files.
options before we get you kicked off for Christmas. And before we do any of that, Viking Storm, is there anything you want the fans to know before they see
Oh,
us
yeah.
next
See, Lunar
time on
votes
the
JFK as
21st?
well.
We
We're
already
very
got
much into that one. Oh God. Oh,
Luna
I
and
should
the
tell you.
JFK.
We so I'll start this. So Black Friday, me and Luna were at Target because we're looking for another wireless controller for the Switch because
Okay.
she has a wired one, but like because we play Mario Kart a lot, and like so I have my own wireless one, and we play some other stuff on there, some other games on the Switch specifically that are for it. And we went there, right, to Target on Black Friday. We're looking around, and then we're like, can't find one. Then we just started looking at albums in the next aisle, and Luna goes, "Hey, can we get a record player?" I was like, "Yeah," because we keep talking about randomly here and there. So we went to Best Buy because we were like, they'll probably have cheaper, more selection. Yeah, we found like an $80 one. It works just fine. Does everything we do. We got more albums now. We bought uh Guardians of the Galaxy
I seen, yeah,
and
I
the
seen
Motley
that.
Crue one. Yep, I bought
Yep.
those. I also got a CCR one.
Ooh.
Yeah, Creedence Clearwater, which came with a Credence bumper sticker that's actually up on the corkboard behind me right now because I was like, yep, I'm gonna pin that to the wall. And then today I bought Dio's greatest hits,
Ooh.
and because I'm a big Dio guy, Dio was one of my. It's the one person that I have not seen that I've always wanted to see, of course, because he was not really touring at the time of his, during the end of his life, and that's when I got older. I was like, I could see Dio, and and then he announced he wasn't going to, and then he got his whole condition and everything, and he passed
Yeah.
away. Dio is for me would have been fucking the show that I would have loved to fucking see, man. Are you kidding me? With Black Sabbath or by himself, like I would have loved to seen that show, dude. I was all about that. We got that, and that's the greatest hits. And then we got it might be a greatest hits, but it's a mixture. It's Five Finger Death Punch album, so it's like songs we like on there. So there's a bunch on there. So yeah, we got that today, and we love our record player. We've been really into using that a lot. Like we're collecting more albums. Like we agreed, like because albums are $30 nowadays most of the time, so they're expensive. So we got what we could today, and we plan on going back there next week also for more albums to this little record store that we found today, and walked away there. He gave us a 2025 calendar that looks like an old like Woodstock like poster for a second with this owl on it and like the tree and everything. It's really cool. We got that going on, but yeah, no, and that oh, Luna has seen now. She's seen Death Proof with me from the last time we talked.
Oh, okay.
We did watch Death Proof together. She loved it. She's seen that. She never seen. I can't remember what we're doing, but I was like, "You want to watch a movie the other day?" And we watched. Weirdly enough, Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, which I know is a dumb movie, but it's one of my favorites. And I kind of taught her more about that movie and like what was going on. I was like, that dude right there is actually the father of drifting in the one scene because he's the one that drove the initial D Toyota, and like that's him right there. He's the one that does all the drifting in the movie with Tanner Faust. And I can drop facts all day on that fucking movie. I know a lot of shit on it.
You're like
Yeah, no.
VH1 pop-up video. Is
What?
that too old for you? Pop-up
Wait,
video?
what? No, what did you say about a VH1 pop video? What the ones that would happen during a movie or whatever?
No, I said you are one. You are
Oh,
VH1 pop-up video
yeah.
with facts and things like
Yeah, I have all those weird facts about things. No, because there was
that.
a scene where in Tokyo Drift where the guy's pissed and he goes, "That's not drifting." The guy that says that, the fisherman, that's the father of drifting actually. He's one that drove that Toyota from Initial D in the anime, and that's it's based on him literally. He's the drift king literally, and it's really cool that he's in the movie randomly. Yeah, no,
I had
that
no
shit.
clue.
I'm looking forward to oh, how do you say it? Nesfartu. The remake is coming out in like December, like Christmas Day, I think. That vampire movie remake. Did you see that?
No.
Is it Nesfarto? Is that how you say it? I think it is. Nosferatu. It's the remake. It's the old vampire that had like it looked like a goblin with a bald head, long ass
Uh,
fingernails.
yeah.
The old black and white one. I think that's Boris Karloff. I think it's him that did the original, or is just somebody that looked like that. But that old black and white vampire movie is basically being remade. That's what it is. It looks fucking good too.
Well,
I want
that'll
to
be
see it.
interesting.
Oh yeah. That one I'm very into. No, we don't really have much else going on. I mean, next week is Godfather. That's our big
Well,
thing.
that's going to be an exciting
I
time. And
mean, hell, even the In Your House crew is getting more involved with Frontline. Kevin and Annie are coming around. Annie's doing the commentary, and Kevin just comes to support. He hangs out. Like I said, last time I seen him is when I gave him that stuff for you, and he was limping around with his little snake cane, and I was like, man, what the hell happened to you? He goes, I hyperextended my leg too far, and yeah,
yeah, he's on the mend from that, so hopefully he'll be back
yeah,
coming soon. But besides that, fans, you can catch me tomorrow with the In Your House crew when we have our Sunday house party. It's when the In Your House crew gets together and we talk wrestling from the past week. So come join us for that. Outside of that, you can catch me Mondays at 7 p.m. where me and the blue-eyed villain Grunmeister and the Chaos Goblin, Kevin Calloway. We go live and we talk Monday Night Raw. We get you previewed and ready to go for Monday Night Raw and send you on. It's 7 p.m. where me, the Chaos Goblin, and the Blue Eyed Villain go live and we talk two subjects that are a general discussion. And then my co hosts take over and they give us their own topic in which they want to talk about. And then you can catch me on Friday nights where me and House get extreme. We go back and we rewatch ECW Hardcore TV. Right now, we're in the thick of it. It is November. It is time to remember. And they are getting the cane swinging from the Sandman. He will be making his comeback from the blinding fireball that Sabu gave him. So come check me and House out on those dates. And there is so much more the In Your House crew does. We do this show every 2 weeks. Conspiracies at Seas, where me and Viking Storm and the young Jamie herself, Luna, joins us. And we talk conspiracy theories. You just heard this one. It was all about cryptids, national forests, and a president who was bound and determined to make this a thing. So come join us every 2 weeks. The next one again will be on the 21st, where we are going to talk possibly JFK files. It's a possibility. You know what? I'll throw another one in there. If you want to talk Bohemian Grove, we'll talk Bohemian Grove. That'll get us into Moloch. That'll get us into all the people with now. Watch them. If they got an owl, you want to watch them. But besides that, this is what we do. Check out all the shows that we are putting out, and we will catch you on the next one.